Touch is one of the first senses developed in humans. For newborn babies, so much of how they learn to communicate is through touch. For premature babies that are often subjected to painful procedures, studies have shown that gentle touch really makes a big difference to their recovery and overall health. Gentle touch has been linked to better weight gain in premature babies and an improved ability to regulate their heart rate. Outside of the baby caring world, there has been an increase in professional cuddling services in Australia. Bree Kupke, a cuddle therapist based in Melbourne, is teaching a session on Monday about the science behind cuddle therapy, the benefits, and why it's needed in our world today. Bree, we live in a world where asking for a hug seems weird, so friendly platonic touch is unavailable for many people. How important is it for people to cuddle?
It's so important, Grace. Like you touched on, with premature babies, it helps them flourish and thrive earlier in life. With children, it helps them learn better. And then, in adults, it allows them to have better, healthier relationships, and it also helps with, anxiety and depression in those areas. The ability to have access to platonic touch in everyday life is so important, but at the moment we're only able to get platonic touch generally through intimate relationships, and we don't really have a facility to go and experience platonic touch outside of that. So if you're not in an intimate relationship or you don't have really close friends who you hug on a regular basis, it can be really difficult to get your quota of cuddles for the week. Having these facilities available and having cuddle therapy and group cuddling events available is super important. I think as a society, we're currently a bit isolated and a bit disconnected from one another, and the ability to reach out to people and go, look, I've had an awful day, may I just have a hug? I think that would make a real difference for a lot of people.
I really love how you say quota of cuddles. Like, I've never heard anyone actually say that. I think I'm going to copyright that. It's so good. So what was your journey into the world of professional cuddling?
Yeah, so about 4 years ago, I met my partner and he started introducing me to his friends and family and whatnot. And, these people that I was meeting, they were, wanting to hug me as they greeted me. And these people, they were lovely. But I really noticed within myself that I was a little bit uncomfortable with people outside of my family and my relationship hugging me. It's kind of like, this is weird, what's going on here? So I decided to kind of start exploring that. I found a group cuddling event here in Melbourne, and I went along for the afternoon, and you experience activities through communication and consent so that you can confidently walk into a cuddle space and know that nothing bad's going to happen and you are at choice at all moments of the session. And I really got to experience what cuddling just another human being was like really got to pull apart the whole, this isn't some stranger on the street, they're just a human being who needs touch as much as I need it. That was really amazing for me. And then it was kind of like I became so passionate and became a cuddle advocate and decided to take on doing cuddle therapy training. So I am now a certified cuddle therapist.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And I really love educating people on the importance of cuddling and how important communication and consent is, not only in our relationships and our interactions in touch, but in everyday life, and how empowering that can be for people.
Why do you think culturally we have diverged from this affectionate practice?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I think that touch has been collapsed and muddled with sexuality, and it's not appropriate with people outside of that arena. Like, we see young children, and if they're upset or they're hurt or something, they'll seek someone out to give them a hug. And, we do that as young children, and then as we move into late primary school, early high school, that kind of diminishes a bit, and there's this stigma almost of what is and isn't appropriate past a certain age when it comes to touch. And, then as adults, it's kind of like we're so caged almost in where we can receive platonic touch from. Like, it's only appropriate for us to get it from our family and our intimate partners. And we have massage, and people can get some kind of touch benefits from that, but that's generally for treating some kind of muscular issue. It's not as nurturing, I suppose, as being able to go to someone and for the next hour, we're going to cuddle, we're going to hug. And things like even stroking a person's hair, that's really soothing, and it releases hormones like oxytocin, which create a bonding experience between those who receive that touch and those who give that touch. And then it also lowers your cortisol levels, so it lowers your stress hormones. And you are able to then be more emotionally level, be able to think clearer, and be able to interact with people at a deeper, more significant level. You're not so touch-starved.
That's really, really powerful. And touch-starved, what an amazing way of putting it. You've touched on some of the scientific benefits of regular cuddling. Are there any more? Can you give us a bit of a lesson?
Yeah, definitely. So there's been studies showing that elderly people are one of the largest groups in our society that are touch-starved. They're not in society, and they may be in a nursing home, or they may be isolated from their family in some way or another. They then don't receive that touch, and it has been shown that people who interact with those elderly people, if they have Alzheimer's or other health conditions, it can actually improve their quality of life. It can slow down the progression of Alzheimer's and help them be a little bit more clearer in their more lucid moments, and also just improve the general quality of life, their ability to maybe combat a cold that they've got going on, or whatever it may be for them.
So how often should we cuddle each other?
So my personal preference is as often as possible. There is some suggestions that 1 minute at the beginning and end of each day is enough to really get the benefits of platonic touch. Yeah.
1 minute. Oh, I think we can all put that into our diaries.
Yeah, 1 full minute at the beginning and end of each day.
I think it's really interesting because most people hug for like 10 seconds or they just pat you. And I'm like, that's not a hug. You just it's basically a pat. It's not a 1 minute hold. So it's good to have that number there. That's what we're aiming for. 1 minute, everyone. Yep. What is the best way to navigate consent, particularly for people who have experienced past trauma in the area of touch?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are people that I work with who have experienced that trauma. The general rule is so if I was to do a session with someone, there would be mutual ground rules that we agree to before even starting the session. But then there's exercises that you can do around communication and consent. And the key points to that are being incredibly specific with your communication. Instead of saying, may I hug you or may I touch your arm, it's may I touch your arm between your shoulder and your elbow, because you may find that people are comfortable being touched in certain areas of their body, but they're not happy being touched in other areas of their body.
Yeah.
Or being really specific about the firmness of the touch or the lightness of the touch, and really having a mutual conversation to get to what works for both parties. One thing that I continually have to speak about is people feel that they're, having to ask too often in our sessions, like make requests, like may I hold your hand, may I give you a back massage? And people feel that they have to ask too often. And what I say is, if you feel like you're asking too often for consent or permission, then you're doing it exactly right.
And I think that is like the foundation of really respectful relationships. Yeah. And even with an intimate partner, I think it makes them feel honoured and valued.
Exactly.
When you ask them. It's like, wow, Oh, thank you for respecting me and my body. You don't own it. Wow.
That's right.
I'm choosing to let you engage with me in this way, and that's really special, teaching people that that's how you invite you invite them into a space or a cuddling space.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, people then get concerned that, well, what if that person says no? Because that's a big thing for us. Rejection is huge when it comes to intimacy and relationships. And one way of thinking about having someone say no to you is if someone asks you the question, is Flinders Street this way? If they're going in the wrong direction, you're not going to tell them that they are going in the right direction. You're going to give them the information that they need to successfully navigate their world, to successfully navigate that relationship. By them making a request of you and you saying no, they then have information so that they can successfully navigate the rest of this interaction.
Wow. That's a really positive way of framing it. What is the gender balance in your teaching session? Are there just men? Do men come? Are men interested in learning about this?
They love it.
Oh, yay.
Yay! So if I was to hold a group cuddling event, it wouldn't be strictly gender balanced because I find that a little bit limiting, but we do find it to be a 60-40 balance in favour of men, which I find
That's
fabulous
fantastic
and incredible.
news.
Yeah. And then if I was to teach a class, it would be very similar. Because, you know, men in general, they don't have access to touch overall. Like, stereotypically, it's quite acceptable for women to be able to hug each other more freely than men. So that's a little bit lacking. But the thing is, we're all human beings. We all need touch. And to be able to get rid of that stigma and have people confidently be able to enter that world is absolutely magical. And I think it could really make a difference.
How much do you think, that toxic masculinity, holds men back from being affectionate with one another?
I think it has quite a lot to play, to be honest. And I think from a young age, men are taught what isn't acceptable in terms of affection between other men. And, depression rates in men are actually higher than women. And I think that not being able to readily hug someone, or even I have men come to me and they're like, I'd really love to hug this person and but they then feel awkward. It's kind of like, well, how long do I hold on for? And is it appropriate for me to tap them on the back? And there's a lot of anxiety around hugging another man. Like, are they going to think I'm weird? Am I doing it right? And that's what's there for men, is this anxiety around, what are people going to think of me? And I think given that this is such a basic need for people, that anxiety, it makes me so sad that that's there.
Bree, what's one thing we can do to improve our hugs?
What's one thing you can do to improve your hugs? Give it all you've got. Oh. Give it all you've got. Don't have it be this half embrace. Have a real hug and really connect with that person as a human being.
Thank you, Bree, for that lesson.
You are most welcome.
That was Bree Kupke, a cuddle therapist based in Melbourne, teaching about the science of cuddle therapy.